It is time yet again for another huge makeup declutter. Today specifically, I will be decluttering my highlight collection. I'll go through each one, swatch them, decide what to keep and what to pass on. So we'll jump into that, but first, if you're new here, hi, my name is Miranda. Welcome to my channel where we talk all things budget beauty. If that sounds interesting to you, then become the newest member of the Slashed Squad by hitting subscribe and the bell icon. Let's get straight into this highlighter declutter. All right, y'all, here is... Oh my gosh, it won't even open. It's so full. Here is my highlighter drawer, and there are some primers in the back of the drawer as well. So let's get started. I've got my water wipes because I'm sure we're going to be doing a lot of swatching today. First thing that's catching my eye is the Physicians Formula Butter Highlighter. I really do like this formula, and this is the shade Pearl. Now this is a little bit more white than I would typically use for my highlight, just because I do have a little bit more of a warm neutral undertone. Oh, it's pretty. Oh, it's white with like a pearlescent pink shift to it. Okay, well, I do think keeping maybe a couple cooler highlighters will be helpful for winter coming up, so I'm gonna keep this and try not to keep too many that are similar to it, because this formula is so creamy. As you saw, it's almost got like a moussey, bouncy texture to it, and you can build this up. It's definitely shimmery, but the shimmer is fine and you get more of an overall glowy appearance with them. Next up is one that I tried in a new makeup video. This is the California Beeman NYX highlighter. Now this is a face and body highlighter, so it is a little bit more versatile, I guess, but you can see here it is pretty insane. This is the shade Pearl Necklace. And this is actually pretty similar to that butter highlighter, but in liquid form. So you can see that that is incredibly reflective. And because of this formula, it can be used more as like a body glitter as well. This is really intense. I'm gonna put that aside as a maybe for now, just because like the first time I used it, it was a little jarring because I wasn't expecting it to be so sparkly and intense. But now that I know what it looks like, I do feel like I can work it into specific looks, festival looks, if we ever go to a festival again. Next up, I do see a couple of these CoverGirl Clean Fresh Illuminators. Now, I think there are 4 total. So this was part of the CoverGirl Clean Fresh line, which was a clean and vegan collection they put out. I do have a ton of favorites from that collection. Let's go ahead and give them a swatch. Ah, interesting. Okay. So this is a cooling glow stick, and I can definitely feel the cooling effect. That's actually a pretty color, but you can kind of see that it goes on a little chunky. Wow, it has a very cooling sensation. Oh, so guilty. It was on the cap. I do like using cream and stick blushes and highlights this time of year as my skin gets a little drier. Okay, I know that there was one that was transparent, this one. I don't know what I would use this for. It's, ooh, see, look, what the heck? I think it was meant to be sort of like a face gloss just to add that dewiness to the skin, but I don't know. I'm not all about that life, and the texture is just weird. So this one I'm gonna get rid of. Okay, the next one is Opal Dreams. Now this one looks a little bit on the pinky side. Ooh, that's really pretty. What is this? Pink Thrill. This one definitely looks like it's gonna be too deep for me. Oh yeah, okay, well I definitely can't use that one as a highlight, so I think I'll keep the opal one and get rid of Pink Thrill. I will give credit where credit's due though. I haven't opened these since like earlier this year, and they are still very creamy and soft, so they haven't dried out. We have another cream highlight from Physicians Formula. This is from their organic collection, their dewy highlighter in the shade Dew Frost. This was my favorite for a while. I really used this a lot, and you can kind of see the tip is sort of dirty. Ooh, this feels like it Oh no, okay. Sometimes it feels like something's dried out, but it just needs to be warmed up again, like with the creamy consistency. That's pretty too. Okay, wait. This is looking kind of pink, but I want to compare it to the CoverGirl Opal shade. And then here is the CoverGirl So Guilty, which is definitely more of a golden champagne. So these three do look different enough to keep them. Ooh, the CoverGirl True Blend Super Stunner Hyper Glow. Let's check this out because upon first glance, this looks really glittery, which is not typically my jam. Is it a spray over? Because look right in the center, it's a little less glittery. Obviously where I've dipped my brush in or dipped a finger in. Oh yeah, look at all of that spray over. Ooh. Interesting. This might actually be a little too dark for me as a highlight. Really, really pretty. Still pretty glittery though, but I think it's just a tiny bit too peachy for my skin tone. So this one I think we'll go ahead and declutter. We've got a couple more butter highlighters. I had 2 pearls. Okay, so I'm definitely gonna pass one off to a friend then because I don't need 2. This one is called Iridescence, which, whoa. Oh my gosh, do you see that shift? Ugh, I cannot get over that creamy texture. Ooh, look at that. It's got like this purpley lavender shift to it. That is beautiful. The only thing is though, I get like super mesmerized by these sort of colored highlighters, whether they are purple or they've got like a rainbow shift to them, and they're definitely fun as a novelty perspective, but I don't find myself wearing them often. I think I might pass this off because realistically, I've kept it and I love the formula, but if I'm not using it, then why, you know? I feel like you can definitely appreciate a shade without needing it in your collection or admitting that maybe it just doesn't work for your vibe. Okay, this color is Champagne. Okay, definite keep. I just love that beam. Like this one is not very shimmer forward. It's a little bit more pigment forward. As you can see, you get sort of this solid glow. It's not just a bunch of sparkle. All right, next up, I'm seeing this Katy Cat Pearl, which was a highlighter / cream shadow from the Katy Perry and CoverGirl collection, which if you've been tuned into the beauty community for a while, you know is extremely old. Oh yeah, it's pretty dried up by now. I mean, I figured. What did this come out in 2015? Right off the bat, I know I'm going to be keeping this. This is a newer addition to my collection. It's the ColourPop Light Stix in the shade Acting Up, which is an exclusive to Ulta Beauty. And it was the first light sticks that I had ever tried from ColourPop. And yes, it is a tiny bit darker. It's a little peachy. In the summer, this definitely works for me. As we move into fall and winter, probably not going to be using it as much, or I might use it as like a luminizing blush type of product, but I'd rather keep this being a little bit dark on me versus that CoverGirl one, because this is definitely more glowy, whereas the CoverGirl one was more glittery, and that this one is more what I prefer in highlight. Ooh, okay, we have the AOA highlighter. We actually have a few AOA highlighters in general. This is the Halo highlighter in Sunstone, and you can see as we go through this that this is typically the shade that I lean towards for highlighters like this, or just champagne-y overall shades. This one is actually a champagne with like gold marbled through it. I'm not sure if you can see that. So let's go ahead and swatch it. And this is a baked highlighter. Yeah, this one definitely leans more gold, but it's not too dark for my skin tone. I think that's really pretty. I'll put this in the maybe pile because I do feel like I'm going to have some other favorites that are very similar to this shade where I might like the formula better. I'm not a huge fan of baked powders. They always just feel a little dry to me. Also from AOA, let's just kind of go through this front section. So first let's do the velour highlighters. So these are actually quite similar to the Physicians Butter highlighters in texture. What they mean by velour, oh yeah, by the way, the packaging sucks on these. I've broken almost all of them, so that's already a strike against. But they are sort of this cream to powder texture. They're not as soft as the butter highlighters, but they are definitely, as you can see, some type of creamy consistency. So this shade is Lucky. Ooh, I really like that. Oh my God, it just like keeps breaking. I tried to just put the cap on top and now like pieces came off. I don't want to deal with that. I'm going to throw this away because that's just an accident waiting to happen. So this one's another sort of shifty shade. This is called Toxic. Let's swatch this. This one looks like it might be a little more glittery. Oh yeah, I could feel the glitter chunks in there. It's way more of like a chunky consistency than the other one. Holy Toledo. Ugh. I don't know if I like that. I feel like this would be really hard to blend out onto the skin. Yeah. And I could see it coming in handy for like, I don't know, mermaid Halloween makeup. We do have Halloween coming up soon. I don't think this texture is for me. And I'm clearly, again, this is one of those like novelty shades that could be really cute for specific looks, concerts, festivals, whatever. But I'm just not wearing it enough. Okay, the next velour highlighter. Again, I think this is broken packaging. Yeah, if something is broken, like it was $1 and this is just annoying. So I'm just gonna declutter that. And here's the last one in Private Show. Ooh, this one almost looks bronzy. I feel like this is something I'd use more so as an eyeshadow than a highlighter. Clearly this is way too dark for me. I wonder if I kept it thinking that it was an eyeshadow. I just don't think this formula would do very well on my eyes, like where there's creases because of how soft and creamy it is. But I mean, holy Toledo, this is a gorgeous color. Look at that sheen. So if you have a darker skin tone than me, I would definitely check out this shade. The CoverGirl Healthy Vitalist Glow, you could use it as a highlighter, you could use it as a shadow or whatever. But again, this one is so old. Really, really pretty color, but I don't even think they sell these anymore. They're discontinued, so I'm not going to be using them in videos. Actually, you can probably see I'm not sure this is supposed to be as yellow as it looks. I think that's like foundation and grossness. So why don't we not hold on to this, okay? Now another one that I've been holding on to more so for sentimental reasons, but it's probably time to declutter. This is an Elizabeth Arden highlighter in the shade Beautiful Color. I mean, I guess it's straightforward, right? So I did wear this highlight on my wedding day. It is so beautiful. It is a liquid highlight. And what I actually love about this packaging is it has a mesh sifter. So it's really easy to just pick up a little bit of product at a time by pressing down. But like I said, I've had this for so long. You can see that it adds a very, very natural glow. It's not super in your face, but I used to use this and layer it with some powder highlight as well to really just give a nice pop of glow. It is really pretty, but again, I've had this for over 3 years or maybe even 4. You can see it's sort of congealed inside too. So why don't we not put that on my face? I mean, I'm really trying to get my acne under control. Let's not put on super, super, super old makeup. Next up, we have the Mary Dew-Manizer from theBalm. This is an incredibly glowy highlight. However, this is an incredibly old tube. As much as it hurts to declutter this, I feel like it would be the smart thing to do because of the fact that, okay, first of all, like, can we just talk about that? This is pure glow. There's no shimmer, there's no glitter. It is just a gorgeous freaking stroby beam. And here's how it looks more blended out, because obviously you're not going to just schmackle it on your face like that. But I mean, you can obviously go a little lighter and get more of a natural feel. And I think that's why I love this highlighter so much, is you can just go for a slight dewiness or you can go all out. The problem with this type of highlight though is that it's liquid. I'm constantly taking the applicator, putting it on my face, and then putting it back in the formula. So after a few years, this type of packaging, the formula is no longer super sanitary. So even though it still looks beautiful, I think I'm better off just buying a new tube. It's like $14, I think, at Walgreens. Okay, so I had this mini version of a butter highlighter that probably came in some type of value set for the holidays. And again, it's in the shade pearl? Why did I have 3 pans of the pearl shade? I'm going to pass this off again. It actually doesn't even look like I've really used it all that much. Probably because I already had the full size. What the heck? I feel like we have another one of these somewhere, but this is the AOA Dewy Highlighter. So this is a cream. It actually has more of like a, I don't know, Vaseline-y, like a jelly consistency. This is what I would consider more of a jelly highlighter. Ooh, whoa, that's pretty. So this is again kind of peachy pinky, but it doesn't look as dark on my skin tone. I might keep this. How weird that this color, which looks like white in the pan, comes out looking like this when it hits the light. That is super cool. Another hidden gem from AOA. Okay, this Cover FX compact is actually a duo. Oh, this is a blush. Okay, let's put that in the blush drawer, which maybe will be next, blush and bronzers, because that drawer is horrifying as well. Okay, let's move this. Ofra highlight. This is one that I got from the Ulta 21 Days of Beauty at some point, I think maybe 2 years ago, and it is in the shade Rodeo Drive, and this is such a gorgeous highlight. This is sort of my perfect highlight shade. It is a slightly gold neutral champagne, and I just think that this is the most flattering color highlight on my skin tone. Now again, for a powder highlight, I love that this isn't sparkly, and that's not what it creates the glow out of. It is incredibly glowy, and you can blend it out and it looks pretty seamless with the skin. Really, really soft, just a good solid powder highlight. So I'm definitely going to keep that. All right, let's just work off the top here. So we've got this Honest Beauty Midnight Reflection Luminizing Glow Powder. Now, if I remember correctly, this is actually rather new. Ooh, I like this packaging. This is way more of a natural vibe. And that's, you know, to be expected with Honest. It's a little bit more of a cooler highlight, which might be nice for winter. Again, definitely more subtle than kind of what I normally go for, but it is really pretty, and I think that it would be a good option for like no makeup when I do want to make a little bit of a pop with my highlight without going overboard, because some of my other favorites, like there's just no turning back. You're gonna get a strong glow. Before we get more into this basket, I'm seeing this really, really old e.l.f. palette. This was their Modern Metals palette. They had a whole Modern Metals collection. This is so old. I have not used it in forever. And this again is another example of why I'm sort of shying away from multi-color palettes, because in this palette, I pretty much only used this shade here for my highlight, which is again sort of a champagne-y gold. And then I used these 2 blush shades, this one more so in the fall and this one more so in the winter. This peach was too light on me. This was too peachy of a highlight for me, and then this was too dark. So, you know, it's just one of those things where I'm not investing in these much anymore. I mean, if you call e.l.f. an investment, this was probably a $12 palette, but it just takes up space when I'm not using all of these shades. So anyway, super old, gonna get rid of it. Next, I'm seeing the Becca Champagne Pop. This is a newer addition to my collection, and holy cow, I did not believe the hype on this product for so dang long, but it is pretty much my favorite highlight out of like drugstore and high end. If I just had to pick one highlight that I just love, this is it. I talked about it in the video where I shared my favorite high end makeup. It's just like the perfect highlight on my skin. It has sort of these golden peachy undertones, but it's not too warm. Look at this blended out. And it does have a slight shimmeriness to it, but it doesn't translate that way. Like when you have it all together with your makeup, it just looks like this gorgeous glow. Not only is that expensive, but it's relatively new, so I'll be keeping that. Okay, back to this basket. We've got the Maybelline Master Chrome Highlighter. I just featured this in my #1 product from 10 drugstore brands video. This is one of the best highlighters at the drugstore, even though, where is it? We're gonna get to it in a second, but even though the Wet n Wild highlight is like the highest rated at the drugstore, this I feel like really, really does something different with your highlight. It is metallic. It's so glowy. This one is the one you use when you just want to make a statement. So this one is called Molten Gold, I think. Yeah, Molten Gold. And you can see like that is just a strong freaking highlight. There is no going soft with this. This highlight I feel rivals some higher end ones. It's very, very smooth and easy to blend out, and it brings the drama that I like in a highlight. So keeping that one. Okay, I've been working around this one, so let's just go ahead and open it. This is a Lancome highlight, the Dual Finish highlighter. So this is more of like a cool pinky champagne. Ooh, very soft. This is not a cream, but it's a very buttery powder. Ugh, so gorgeous. Again, a little cool for me. It's almost white. Let's be real. The more I look at it, the more white it kind of looks on my skin tone. Here's the thing. I've solely been holding on to this because it is a more high-end product, and it's harder for me to part with higher end products, but I never use it. And I've got to be realistic. So this one I might pass on to a friend or sell to a neighbor or something. Is this a bronzer? What is this doing in here? Now moving on, some of what's in this back drawer is primers. So I just want to kind of move my other highlighters to the front. This is a bronzer, so that doesn't belong in here. So here's what we have left. First, let's just go through these two tubes. These are the CoverGirl Vitalist Go Glow highlighters. So these are not super strong, but they are a liquid, separation much. Ew, 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 ew. Okay, so this one is probably a little old. Don't think that's gonna work. Oh my God, the smell. Oh my God, no. That was so gross. Okay, I don't know how long I've had them, but if the smell is any indicator, they should have been tossed a while ago. Ugh. So I have another one of these CoverGirl True Blend Super Stunner highlighters, and this one looks even darker than the one that we decluttered, but in general, just not a fan of the sparkly finish on these. Oh, and here is a CoverGirl highlighting palette, which I don't really remember ever using. I don't necessarily need 3 highlights in one palette because I'm only going to use one at a time. So I think the main draw for a palette like this is that if this is your highlight collection, you know what I mean? Like you don't want extra compacts or whatever. Like these are the 3 highlights that you have and use every day. These are really pretty shades, although I think they are the Super Stunner formula. So they are just like those little square ones. Well, this one looks a lot less. Ooh, this is, interesting. This looks a lot less shimmery. Yeah, this is a little bit more glowy. Interesting that they still label it that way though. To be honest, these are actually pretty. This one is the most sparkly one. Okay, so to be honest, those are actually really pretty and glowy and not as sparkly as the compacts. But why would I want all 3 in one? I feel like these shades are ones that I have in formulas that I like better, so I'm going to pass that off as well. Okay, we've got the Essence Pure Nude Highlighter. This is one of my favorite Essence products. Now again, this one is a little bit on the more natural side, and this one's in the shade Be My Sunlight. It's not as intense, and you can see the color there. It's a little bit of a warmer highlight shade. Definitely glowy, really good for more subtle looks. Like I said, it's one of my favorites from Essence, so I'll be keeping that. Let's talk about this Bretman Rock highlight. This is an insane highlighter. It is basically just glitter. So let me try opening this up without getting it everywhere. I do have a whole video about this collection when it first came out if you're interested, but this is like a dual-sided highlighter. So we've got this pink one on this end, and you can just look at that. It's basically just glitter. And then this side is the one that I like better. There is a little bit of pigment to this side. It's like a champagne gold, but I mean, this is so glitter heavy that I never ever reach for it. Again, I feel like it's more of a special occasion highlighter. And in special occasion, I mean like going to a rave. Just for how I like to do my own makeup. So gonna pass this one off as well. Next, let's go to the Revlon Skin Lights. Now this was another highlight where it looks like it's gonna be super reflective, but when I used a brush with it, it picked up more of the glitter than it did the pigment, but it swatches really nicely. although you can see that it is still predominantly a glitter highlight. But yeah, when I use like my go-to highlight brushes with this, it just picks up way more of the glitter than the pigment. And in general, it's just a little bit more glittery than I like my highlights. I think it's a really pretty shade though. This one is in Twilight Gleam. Okay, this Pixi Glow Cake is also more of a blush than a highlight. And oh my gosh, hold on. Let me just let you see my blush and bronzer drawer because this might need to be the next declutter video. I mean. All right, moving on. We've got this W7 Glow-Commotion Shimmer Highlighter and Eyeshadow. So it's kind of like an all-in-one. And I mean, let's get real. Any powder highlighter can be used as an eyeshadow as well. So it's always a little funny to me when they actually label it that way because it's really not anything different. You know what I mean? But anyway, W7 is one of those brands that's available in drugstores in the UK. And then in the United States, they're more so found in like TJ Maxx kind of stores. Here is that beautiful champagne-y shade. This is one that I actually really like. I don't know why I don't use it more. Check that out though. That's really pretty. Like I need to start thinking of, do I have this shade in a better formula? And there's honestly nothing wrong with this formula. It's actually very, very buttery in terms of a powder highlight. And for a product that's labeled shimmer, it's not really all that shimmery, as in you can see all the little shimmer particles at all. I think out of the drugstore highlighters, that one is a little bit more on the neutral side of what I've kept otherwise. It's a little similar to the Ofra, but I think I'll keep it for a budget option in that shade. Next, we have this Neutrogena stick highlighter. It's the Hydro Boost Illuminator. Again, this is incredibly old, so I feel like the smart thing to do would be to toss this and then maybe buy it again if I want it. This is in the shade Moonstone, so it's sort of a cooler champagne shade. Yeah, that's really pretty. I think that's going to be worth buying again. More of a cooler, almost silvery-ish shade. Yeah, I think I'm going to go ahead and repurchase this just because this is such an old product and I'm trying to be good about putting old stuff on my face. Okay, we are almost done. I can see the end to the tunnel. Is this another blush? Oh my gosh, this drawer is gonna hate me. Okay, we have another AOA highlighter. This is another baked one called their AOA Wonder Highlighter. This was actually the first highlighter that I tried from AOA. Again, very, very dry formula. Ooh, yeah, this is like no payoff. What the heck? I feel like this used to be a lot more creamy and pigmented, so maybe it just dried out. To be fair, I've had that for like 2 years though, so I can't be too surprised. I have another 2 AOA products before we just move on with the rest of this basket. Here's another one of their dewy highlighters, so it's that kind of jelly consistency. And again, this is more of a novelty shade. This one is called Grace, and it is a slightly purple highlight. Now, I might keep this one just because it is literally my favorite shade in the entire world. And because I did not keep any of the other kind of novelty highlights, I'd rather keep this one. And I do want to point out too that with these dewy highlights, kind of like the name suggests, they do feel dewy on the skin. Like I said, they have kind of a jelly consistency. So just in case you are interested in these, but you're not quite sure if your skin type will be compatible, this would be better for normal dry combo, but maybe not necessarily oily because they do feel slippy. So we've got 2 of these Koki highlighters, which I recently added to my collection. So I'll probably keep both of them. They are the Soft Glow highlighters. This one's in the shade Gleaming. Now, what I like about these as well, very, very soft powder consistency. This one was actually the glittery one. Maybe I won't keep this one. The other one, I thought it was this one. The other one was very, very pigment focused and glowy. See the difference there? Like one is just shimmer on my skin and the other one is actually a glowing beam. So maybe I will actually just keep the one Heavenly. It's just the shimmer always ends up everywhere you don't want it. So here is that highlighter that I mentioned before, the Wet n Wild MegaGlo Highlighting Powder. This is consistently the highest rated highlighter at the drugstore, and for good reason. This is in the shade Golden Flower Crown, and again, this is like my perfect highlighting shade. It starts off not subtle, but not too strong. So that's why I think it works for a lot of different people and looks, but you can build it up and you're going to get a really, really pretty glow. This is almost like the perfect shade for my skin because it actually doesn't have too much of a contrasting pigment. It's just that glow. So it ends up looking a little bit more natural on me. I mean, as natural as something like this can look on the skin. But when I have it, you know, blended out onto my cheek, it's sort of like hits the light in a way where it's like, oh, she is just radiant. You know what I mean? So as a drugstore beauty YouTuber, I feel like I do need to keep the highest rated and most beloved drugstore highlighter in my collection. Next, now this Pixi highlight, and I've talked about this before, Pixi makes some of my favorite highlight formulas. And to be fair, a lot of their highlights actually could work well with darker skin, which this shade would be a little bit more appropriate for. This one is just too dark for me to use as a highlight. I could probably use it as like a very glowy blush or even in eyeshadow. It is in Fetch, which I love the shade name because Mean Girls is my favorite movie. But let me go ahead and swatch this for you. See, that would look absolutely beautiful on dark skin. It is sort of like a peachy bronze. Look at the glow. There is a very, very, very fine shimmer. It doesn't overpower the glow, but this shade is not for me. Here's my favorite Pixi highlighting product ever. It is the Glowy Gossamer Duo in the shade Subtle Sunrise. And again, it is a duo product. And even though this one is a little bit on the pinky side, it is a good shade match for me as a light medium skin toned person. The powder feels like velvet. Like it legitimately feels like a velvet sweater. That's how soft this is. I mean, this is what I'm talking about whenever I tell you that I'm obsessed with Pixi highlights, because I have not swatched anything better than this today yet, ever. Here's how it looks a little bit more blended out so you can get a bit more of a realistic feel for it. But yeah, this is just my absolute hands down, right under Champagne Pop, maybe even at the same level as Champagne Pop, favorite highlighter. Oh, we have another AOA one. I didn't realize how many highlighters I had from AOA. This is their Powlighter, and I did recently try this in my last AOA themed video. I'm gonna let you go ahead and watch that to see what it looks like, because the one downside to this absolutely beautiful, glowy, peachy champagne highlighter is the packaging. There is a sifter, but the holes in the sifter are so crazy big that way too much of the highlight, oh my gosh, it's coming out the sides, way too much of the highlight ends up like in the top area, which makes it a mess. And unfortunately, that does affect how often I use this, but it is so freaking beautiful that I am going to keep it for when I feel like it's worth the struggle. This I might go ahead and toss. This is an old Wet n Wild highlighter from their Crystal Cavern collection. And this was like the only thing that I liked from that collection. Again, it is more of like a creamy, moussey texture. It's almost exactly how the Butter highlighter feels and the AOA Velour highlighter. Like you can see how soft it is, and it's got that kind of creamy consistency, which I really liked, and that's why I kept this out of everything in that collection. But this is hella old. I never reach for it. This packaging is ridiculous. Like I'm never taking this traveling with me. And in general, this shade is a little bit icy for me. Now, another one from that Crystal Cavern collection were these MegaGlo brightening rocks. I don't even know how to describe this. This is something that was super popular a while ago, where it's just these weird little pellets of shimmer and you kind of swirl your brush around in this. But again, this is a product that gave me more glitter than it did any type of glowy pigment. So I'm not even quite sure why I hung on to this, because I remember not liking it right off the bat. So we've got this Wet n Wild Makeup Stick Highlight. This is rather old. One of my favorites, and you can still find this in the drugstore. It's one of the brand's staples. It is a little bit of sort of a frosty pink, very beautiful and easy to blend formula. And this is a really, really cheap product from Wet n Wild. I've found them at like Dollar General for $1.50, and that is really, really gorgeous. But again, old product, I've got to stay true and committed to my skin because it is looking better than ever right now. All right, we've got our last highlight. Oh my gosh, here is a Tarte highlight that I completely forgot I owned. This is their Stunner highlighter in the Amazonian clay formula. Y'all have heard me rave about the Tarte Amazonian clay formula in the past. It is a beautifully soft, buttery, pigmented, oh hey, there's me in the mirror, very blendable. So let's check out what Stunner looks like. Again, I think this was something that I got in a 21 Days of Beauty deal. Ooh, I love it. Okay, definitely keeping that. Again, I have a really hard time parting with higher end products, and that is such a pretty shade. Okay, cool. Oh my gosh, y'all. This is such an organized and not overflowing drawer anymore. That is very satisfying. I'm gonna give myself a pat on the back for that one. I decluttered half of my highlight collection. Not bad at all. I have so many other drawers in dire need of attention. I showed you my blush and bronzer drawer for a second there. My foundation drawer needs to be cleaned out. Let me know what makeup you want me to declutter next, because it's definitely gonna need to happen soon. Today's shout out goes to Tina. Thanks for being a member of the Slashed Squad, and join me over in this video next, which is a huge fall clothing haul from Target and Walmart. Help me decide what to keep and what to return. I'll see you over there. Bye.